Hello and welcome to the Static Traveller with me, James. Hello and welcome to the fifth episode of the Static Traveller, the podcast where I speak to travellers of the past and the present from around the globe and let them tell you in their own words about their adventures through this amazing world. So today's guest goes by the name of Lingo Lewi. Lewi is originally from New Zealand. He's 26 years old and he's currently in New Zealand on lockdown. Lewi, hello.
Kia ora te whānau. My name is Lewis, as you've heard. Lingo Lewi is the social media name. But yeah, I'm from New Zealand. I have been here for almost a month now because of the coronavirus. This is something I think we're going to laugh back in history. It's not like a World War II event or 9/11. This is a virus, epidemic. We'll be laughing about the times that we're locked in home and creating memes online and laughing back at that. It's gonna be. I think the world's gonna be completely different after this. It's not gonna be the same. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I agree with that. I was talking with my wife yesterday. Actually, we went out a little walk. A little walk. It turned into an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So we went out a walk, and I've never seen more people out and about than I have yesterday.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Actually, funny you say that because what was it? Yeah. Yesterday was the first time in 3 days. I mean, it's not much, but 3 days. We needed to get some supplies and all that, and you just see all the cars parked at home, and it's like a Sunday. It's like a major Sunday, but every day. Like we were going out for a walk because here, yeah, because in New Zealand it's quarantine, but we're allowed to still go for walks and obviously keep your social distancing and whatnot. But it's everyone respects that rule here, and so you just see everyone at home, just chilling and doing what they're doing, and people walking their dogs, and it's unbelievable. It's awesome. I think it's maybe a cleansing that the world needed.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like you say, it's like everyone is abiding by it. I don't know what the rules are in New Zealand. So, for example, in the UK, we're allowed out once a day for exercise. Um, and like we're only allowed to leave our homes for essentials like shops, like for food, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, that's the same here. You just get the essentials because there's nothing else open, eh? I mean, I think the police are now starting to not block the exits, but they're starting to control the highways and whatnot. So just limit the people traveling through in and out of the places and stuff. I mean, there's no point. You're not going to drive half an hour away on the motorway just to go to a supermarket when you got one, next door here. So um, yeah, so it's good from now. I mean, most people are at home, so see how long that lasts for. And I mean, they're saying 1 month quarantine, but who knows? Could last a lot longer, eh? Only time will tell with
Yeah.
all these sort of things. Yeah.
So let's get into the travel chat kind of thing.
Cool.
So what take me back to when you were younger. Did you always want to travel?
Well, lucky we got time, right? um, yeah, it's well, funny enough, I'm from New Zealand, but my father is a direct Mexican. Uh, his ancestry is Spanish Mexican, mostly indigenous, like Aztec Mexican, far as they can go back. And my mother's she is Dutch, German, Spanish. So I always grew up with just multiculturalism. So even my mother's parents, so my grandmother from my mum's side that just passed away, she was Spanish from Spain. She been
Sorry to
living
hear
in New
that.
Zealand. There's no life without death, right? So um, she been living in New Zealand for over 40, 45. I think it was 46 years she'd been here, and she still didn't know how to speak English properly. So it was always embedded in me to learn and hear different languages and see different people from different places. So she was full Spanish, and then my grandfather is German Dutch. So he's got quite a strong accent still when he speaks today. He also lives in New Zealand. He remarried to a Thai lady, so they had a Thai restaurant for about 14 years, and so we used to go there once, twice a week. And she already has two kids from obviously her ex-husband, and yeah, so it's just interesting hearing Thai all my life, growing up with them, and then my Spanish grandmother who remarried as well to a Fijian. He never really spoke it around us because all the Fijian family were obviously in Fiji, not much here. But and also my schooling, growing up as a kid, it was a massive immigration of Koreans, Chinese, as everywhere we go in the world is Chinese, Filipinos at that point, and islanders. We have many Pacific Islanders, Polynesians, for instance, Samoans, Tongans, Niueans, Fijians, Rarotonga, Cook Islands. And so this was the norm to me as growing up in this globalization era, like a mini America almost. Uh, so with that, I feel like I've just begun my journeys traveling. I was stuck in the rat race in the Australasian zone, between New Zealand and Australia. I moved to Australia when I was 15, back and forth visiting my mom and my dad, living with my dad in Australia, moved to Perth. Do you know where Perth is?
um, yeah, and so I know where it is, but and I know of it, but I've not been. Like,
Mate, beautiful place. If you ever go to Australia one day, do make your way to go and visit Perth. It's actually the second most isolated major city in the world after Hawaii. There's just nothing
oh,
near it. Yeah, like for instance, if you were to get a plane from Melbourne and fly to Perth, it takes 4.5 hours heading west, and then heading east takes 5 hours. Rather, if you go to New Zealand from Melbourne, it takes 3.5 hours heading east, and then heading west takes 4 hours, just over 4 hours. So it's actually further
huh.
away in its own country than it is to other countries. Same thing if you want to fly to Indonesia, Bali only takes, I think from most cities, apart from Darwin in the north, it takes about 3.5 hours, something like that. Quite interesting.
All right, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, took the plunge with my dad. Went finished my high school there, then did my last year of high school in Melbourne. Uh, then I don't know, for some reason I went back home, messed around for a couple of years, just doing nothing really. But when I was a kid, I'd been to Mexico 3 times before I was 11. And then I did a strange tour with my dad. It was New Zealand to the USA, California, Texas, Mexico, Canada, London, Bangkok, and Sydney, just the airport, before returning back to New Zealand. And we always traveled driving through New Zealand, visiting plenty of friends during the holidays. Um, growing up, as I said, with all my family members and ethnicities around me. Also, intermarriages, we have like Japanese, Taiwanese, and Nigerian connections for the family through marriages. So it's crazy to have
Wow.
everything. Yeah, we got everything basically, but like South American, like or Russian or Arabic. Basically, that's it. Yeah, I really want to do like a full trip one day and just do like from one end to the other, like a 360 tour, and just visit every family member and just put the whole family tree together. It'd be great. Yeah.
It sounds like a massive task.
Yeah, it's huge, but lucky I've got my whole life ahead of me, eh?
So, I mean, that's amazing. The amount of different ethnicities you've got through just your one family. I know if I look at my family, for example, it's Scottish, and that's it.
Do you have like any, like, I know, okay, this is a good question actually. So the Irish Gaelic and Scottish Gaelic, are they similar, or are they completely different languages, or they're more like dialects?
To be perfectly honest, I couldn't tell you.
All right.
uh, Gaelic, although it's our language, it's not very well spoken, or it's not widely spoken.
Hmm.
Um, I know, like for example, my granddad, he used to speak bits of it, but outside of that, I've never met anybody else that can speak Gaelic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like Māori here. It's already been almost like washed down in a way.
Yeah.
Like I can speak basics because of it's my interest to do so. Whereas if you speak to the average New Zealander, again, same thing. They'll know a couple of words and that's it. Because it's still like for instance, it's still an education. Like it's compulsory. It's done uh, and all through elementary. I don't know if you call it primary school or elementary in your side of the world,
Yeah.
but yeah, all the numbers, colors, etc. Blah 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 blah. It's so it hasn't been embraced. Whereas now, I think last year they just announced like a new how do I say, like a new program. They want to get like 1 million Te Reo Maori speakers, 1 million by 2040, which is pretty good, I think, because at the end of the day, I think if you have a language or something that shows your identity, then that shows your identity. I mean, it sounds stupid, but it's because I feel
Yeah.
like globalization is great and all, but certain countries need to show where they're from and who they are, or else you forget your roots. I think you forget who you are in a way, you know?
Yeah. So is that like a native language to New Zealand?
Yes, yeah. The Maori people uh, were the first settlers, as we know of, that arrived to New Zealand. Who knows before that, you know? But they originally came from Hawaii. But even before Hawaii, they came from Easter Island, Moai, next to Chile, which is technically territory of Chile. So they're technically all the way from South America. It's quite interesting. And evidence to show that is actually, did you know that the potato comes from Peru? And Peru have over 4,000 potatoes, right? Species of potatoes. And the Maoris
Actually,
actually,
I had
what's that?
actually seen I'd seen a like a Facebook video. I don't know if you follow like, what's his name, Nas Daily.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. He's good. I love him.
Yeah. So I seen him doing the potato thing, and I was like, in Scotland we've got like maybe 3 or 4 different types of potato that I can think of.
Yeah,
There is more, obviously, but it's maybe just because I'm not a big potato person. Um,
yeah,
but but yeah, I mean, like when you start and look at it, and I had look at some of them. You had like black potatoes, and uh, like there was all different, like purple carrots and stuff like that. It's all just so different to what we see here. Because
yeah,
everything, like you say, is it's all globalized. So carrots come in, they're orange. Potatoes come in, you get a big potato, small potato. That's
yeah,
that's
yeah,
pretty much it.
yeah, 100%. Um, it's funny you say that because the kumara, we call it the kumara. Even if you go to the supermarket here, it's called the kumara. You would see in brackets sweet potato, but it's like the official name. They call it kumara. Um, and it's actually got a complete different taste, and I miss it. It's almost like a purpley brown. It's amazing. It's the whole different flavor. And it's like when I come back home and I eat it, and I'm just like, oh, this is good. I guess home is home, no matter where you're from. There's little things that count. And it's just funny
Yeah,
again to
absolutely.
see that, as you said, Nas has explained, that, all the species of vegetables and all that from Peru, and it's made all its way to New Zealand. Or for instance, our
Hmm.
kiwi fruit. You know that the kiwi fruit actually comes from China. It's called the Chinese gooseberry. That's the original name for it.
All right, okay.
Yeah. So it's
No, I didn't know
something
that.
like, yeah, it's interesting. Like for instance, for me, that's why I've loved language and something simple as food, because that shows you where the history comes from, and it's like a history that doesn't lie. It doesn't. It explains itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
So you did do a bit of travelling. So even at a young age, can you remember where your first holiday was, or
Yes.
your first experience of travelling, even?
Um. Apparently, my first birthday was in Australia, but I don't remember that. But the real first experience that I remember as a kid was I remember, I think it was my sixth birthday. I was smashing a piñata in Mexico with my cousins and family out in Mexico City. And it's funny because I went back there 2018 August, first time in 13 years. And it was funny to go back to the house that I stayed in most of my time with my uncle. Because my dad is one of 14, so I got a lot of family over
Wow.
there. Yeah. So don't ask me names, I can't remember them all. It's crazy, but it's awesome. You go there, if you get sick of someone, you just go to someone else's house, or if you get bored of someone, you just go and hang out with someone else. It's a lot of fun. Um, but it's good. It's good. I love it. Um, yeah, that was my first traveling. Was just going through Mexico, Australia a few times. There
So
met friends in Brisbane, and it was not until 2017 that I took that plunge out of the Australasian zone. I could say, because apart from when I was a kid, that's about it. All the traveling I did.
yeah, so see with Mexico, my little girl, she loves. Have you seen the Disney film Coco?
Oh yeah, I love it. Yes.
Yeah. So she absolutely loves that, and see all the about the Alfrendas, and I can never say it. Is it? Oh, I know it's the Day of the Dead, but I can never say it how they say it. Is it
Yes.
A
La
Three of
Dia.
Muertos or something?
Yes, yes. La Dia de Muertos.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can't say that.
That's all right.
Um,
Yeah. Day of the Dead. Yeah.
but so have you experienced that in Mexico?
No, that's a lot of people ask me that. And I didn't go there at the right time. I'm actually hoping to do that. Well, see what happens so far, but that was my plan for this year was to go around that time because that's the biggest festival. I mean, Christmas, of course, but that's like the original. I mean, now worldwide, it's. I don't understand how. I think maybe America made it commercial. Like not commercial, but the whole world knows it. Like
Yeah,
everyone, oh yeah, skull candy. Oh, it's like I see people with tattoos on it now. It's really strange to see that. So weird. And I think in the last 10 years or so, that's become like a thing. No, I haven't had experience of myself, but we celebrate it just at home. You just it's a day of remembrance of the dead because they believe that life goes on. You're just in the next world. We celebrate that they've moved on, not celebrate that they're dead as much. You know what I'm saying? Like it's more of a they're
yeah.
happy that they're in the next life. They're continuing as I said before, life. There's no life without death, right? So that's what they believe in.
So when you were younger, did you always want to travel, or was it you kind of found your passion through family, or was it something you'd considered, but then once you got a bit older, you went, I want to do it now, or did
Yeah.
you want to be like, or did you want to stay in New Zealand and be like a fireman or something, or did you ever consider anything else other than traveling?
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to be. I've always loved to be like in the Navy or a police officer. Actually, something around those lines. Um,
Okay.
Yeah, I studied at Melbourne Uni education, so I wanted to be a teacher and just I always liked helping people in a sense. And I didn't see traveling till later. Um, it was actually a funny story. It was when I was working at New Balance. Um, Actually, I was becoming a personal trainer as well. I was helping two brothers build up a holistical personal training studio with an
Uh
outdoor
huh.
area, and I had like a vegetarian, vegan cafe. Uh, Bit of a long story, but it fell to pieces after 4 years, and all of our work ended. So I suddenly realized how your dreams can crumble so quickly, and if you don't pursue it properly, or if, if it makes friends with business, it doesn't come out so well. So um, that was really big to me actually. I love because again that was a different way of helping people. It was more than just pumping weights and running the quarter mile or whatever it was, people wanted to achieve. It was we're getting people that, my doctor told me I couldn't run again, or my doctor said I had that surgery on my knee. And there's some things that, you know I mean, sure, there's certain points in life where people need surgery and certain medications and whatnot, but I believe that and it's proven through health science that you can fix people again. There's a certain degree where people can only just need to tune up, and these problems didn't happen overnight, so they won't take overnight to get resolved. For instance, people, I want to lose weight in 1 week. Yeah, how many years have you been, overweight? How many years has it taken for you to get to that point? It's something that doesn't happen overnight. So it's a lifestyle. We were trying to teach people that, and we saw some amazing results. From even some drug addicts almost to complete turnaround. Vegan. So we turn some people even from the biggest meat eaters, breakfast, lunch, and dinner to vegans. It's unbelievable, just on their own choices.
You'd never get me to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I was actually one of those guys. I tried vegan. I was vegan for like 4 days, and I was like, no, it's too hard. And then I went vegetarian for it was like almost 2 years. It was like a year and 11 months or something. And then I just missed ribs. Ribs got me at the end. But what I learned was everything in moderation. Including moderation, and
Yeah.
just even most for the most part of the last 2.5 years, I could say, like during the week, I'm almost like a vegetarian. And then Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, I just enjoy myself, eat what I like, go what I like, and do what I like.
See,
Um,
that's what I struggle with moderation. So like, especially see when I'm traveling, or when I'm in a different location, I want to
yeah.
eat everything, and that's
Oh yeah.
part of my problem. Is that I just want to try everything, and I'm one of these people that I can't leave anything on my plate, or
Yeah.
it's just regret. It's regret for me, and it's not right. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I sit there and I think to myself later on, I'm like, oh, I wish I'd ate that because I'm a wee bit hungry now. And then I start getting annoyed with myself, and it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but I don't know. It's just always the way I've been.
Yeah, yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. It's funny because if you look on my Instagram, I actually on one of my earlier posts, I almost ate 1 meter of pizza. So I can relate. I definitely I lost 30 kilos before becoming a trainer and all that. So I was quite growing up quite obese and all that, and I used to eat like you guys have Nando's also in Scotland, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd eat like
Yep.
two whole chickens, two jumbo fries, like a large Coke. I just, I was crazy when I was a kid. It was just, you know, and I just, this whole experience I had, changed me, training and, meeting certain people, habits. But I still enjoy myself, like you said, sometimes if I just have this meal and I want more, I just go for it. Because at the end of the day, you just gotta do what makes you happy. If you're happy at the end of it, like you say, if you're I regret that, or if you go, oh well, I should have made a bit more, or especially when you're traveling, that's the best part. Is when you're traveling. I think for me, I just let go. I let loose when I travel because you have to. You're only there for so long, and you got to try everything you can, like you say. And I think that's one of the best parts of traveling for sure. That's at least a third of the reason why I travel, just for the food. The food is
Yeah.
is a history itself. It's a history in the making.
I mean, I'm having a look at that bit of pizza now, and that is massive.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
funny because I'm looking at that and I'm going, I want that,
Yeah.
and
That's
it's only
awesome.
breakfast time here.
Yeah.
It's not even 8 o'clock in the morning, and I want a meter of pizza.
Oh, and it tastes better than it looks, trust me. Tastes better than it looks. Oh,
So, you spoke about you went into business with a couple of friends before you started traveling, that kind of thing. So, is that
yeah.
what you did before traveling? Is that what kind of work did you do before then? Before you
Yes.
decided to set off?
Yeah. I was working between the gym. We were rebuilding it, restructuring, and then working at New Balance, just a sales rep on the floor, and at actually my girlfriend's father's restaurant. I met her from my stepbrother, who I think today I still give, a massive gratitude to, because if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have started traveling. Uh, I got into the languages because with the languages, for me, if it wasn't for the languages, I wouldn't travel, and if I wouldn't travel, it wouldn't be the languages. It's they meet in hand for me, because I love just
Yeah,
like learning the basics in all the countries that I've been to. I can speak all those languages, just the basics, and then I just love it, just talking to them and just seeing their face, making the day, making them smile. Um, and it was because my girlfriend's from Sicily, and so only Italian was spoken at home, and her parents are professional chefs. And of course, they only worked at Italian restaurants. So when they got home, they speak Italian. They go to work, they speak Italian, but they're in Australia. They live in Australia for 8 years, and their English is still not the best, right? Um, and so working at the restaurant there, all the staff were Italian. They were speaking Italian for themselves, and I'm like, no, I want to know what they're saying. I want to know what's going on. And then, così così, little things that are just similar. And then yeah, with her, I got interested. I'm like, I really want to now. After 3 years, I started developing the language with her and the family, and I thought this is awesome. Like, I'm getting serious with her. I really would love to go and visit. Um, but I didn't know how I was going to do it. And so I figured to speak Arabic and the history that comes with it. And so I discovered language exchanges. Have you ever heard of a language exchange?
No.
So these are awesome. These changed my life, and I thank everyone to this day that's I've met through there, and I will continue to do so. So language exchanges, just a play. Imagine you walk into a bar, right? And at the bar there'd be like a table right by the entrance, and we're talking a
Uh-huh.
bar. I mean, the size of this bar was pretty decent. I've been to some others around the world, but they're not as good as the one I went to in Melbourne. And you imagine 300-400 people in one bar, and you go to this book on the table, and the guy goes, "Oh yeah, so where you from?" Okay, I'm from, you know, I say, "James, where you from?" You say, "Scotland." What language do you want to learn? I don't know, Korean, Thai, whatever, Spanish. All right, so I give you the Spanish flag
Uh-huh.
or the Korean flag, or what languages you already know, and then you just walk around and find people that you want to meet, and so you just have like one corner of African people of different sense of Afrikaans and all these other languages from Nigeria and a lot of people. We have a lot of people from Zimbabwe, and then you would have another corner of Europeans, the French, the Germans, and then you have Asian corner, your Japanese, your Korean, China. You got everything. It's amazing. It was unbelievable, and I was like, wow, I've missed this my whole life. Like I just, like I said, I always grew up with these ethnicities, but I never knew how to connect to them. And so through language was just like a whole another level, and just meeting these people just inspired me. I'm like, you know what? I gotta do it. When am I gonna travel? Oh, you gotta come. You gotta come. Because people, I feel like I don't know how it is in Scotland, but I feel it's quite similar in the multicultural world that you just get everyone comes to live in our countries because our country is the best, but they think, oh, it's heaven to them. When you say, I'm from Scotland or I'm from New Zealand, they go, wow, it's a the ultimate, and so I never felt like I had to travel because I felt like I could meet the world in my own world.
Yeah.
Um, and then I soon realized the importance of Chinese and the significant role they're playing in the world today, not only in the language exchanges but in my own workplace. So when the whole gym fell apart, I was just working mainly at the New Balance shop, um,
Uh-huh.
and that was actually quite close to the Melbourne airport, about 20 minutes away. And there was a hotel they just completed, and then just the amount of Chinese that started flocking in, and I was like, "What is this? Like, this is crazy!" And we couldn't talk to them. It was like either we hire a Chinese or we're gonna speak Chinese. And so I just decided to pick up a few words and hey, how are you? Would you like this? Numbers, and it's on discount. Why not buy? It's cheap. This and that. And so I met my friend, and so it seemed to be quite the phenomenal. Oh, I'm going to bring my friend, and so they bring in 10 people, and they go buy crazy. They just buy like crazy. And I met my friend Yankee, and Yankee has changed my life as well. And he goes, "Oh, I see what you're doing. That's cool, man. You're the first, white guy that I've seen that speaks, my language. That's so cool." And this and that. So we lived together for about a year, and then he told me, he goes, "Look, man, there's an opportunity to teach in a summer camp in China, all paid for about it was almost a month." At first, I hesitated. I declined the offer actually, and after a few weeks, I considered it again, and I went to have the interview. It was a friend of Yankees, And so obviously I talked to them, and they said, "Yeah, you're an awesome candidate to go and teach in China." It was voluntary, but everything was paid for. Um, so I thought, why not? I got the gig. So that was in July 2017, and that changed it all for me. I mean, teaching there, middle school. I mean, you imagine half these kids, right? They're already 14 to 16 years old. They never seen a foreigner in their life, half of them, because they come from rural villages to come to this main city,
Yeah.
about an hour southwest of Shanghai, called Jiaxing. And some people were just staring at you for like 3 days. They wouldn't even say a word. They would just like go so red because, imagine just seeing like your own species your whole life, and then all of a sudden you're seeing something that's different. You're like, oh wow, it's so weird to
Yeah.
even you'd think, oh, going in the most rural indigenous areas of the world you'd find that, but even going in China you still get that today. People would touch my hair, touch my face. um like my girlfriend at the time had her hair dyed blonde, and they're going, oh wow, and they're taking photos without asking, and they just lose their mind. That's crazy. And yeah, it was the best thing I ever did, going there. And I told my girlfriend, I'm going back to live. Are you coming with me or not? And she goes, all right, but we're gonna do a Euro trip because my uncle's getting married in October, that same year in 2017. So I was like, why not? I can go and meet my family for the first time in the Netherlands and in Spain. So we did the Euro trip through Italy. We went through most of Sicily, on the east side of Sicily, and we did the Netherlands after that to go meet my family, who mostly live in Rotterdam. That's where my mother's from. I went to Amsterdam as well, of course. Can't miss out Amsterdam. And then went to Spain, Barcelona, and Zaragoza, where I met a lot of my family. But my grandmother actually comes from a smaller place called Tarazona, which is further north of that. Yeah, best thing I ever did. And ever since I got a taste of it, I'm like, all right, this is so much to handle in 1 year. Oh, sorry, I missed out about my Thailand trip in that same year, January of the New Year's. I went to Phuket for 2 weeks. I just decided why not, because my girlfriend went to Europe during the Christmas, and I didn't want to go. And I was like, screw it. Everyone told me how Thailand was so cool, because a lot of Australians love Thailand. I don't know why, but they just go there. It's all about Southeast Asia now, and it's like America, South America. It's cheap. It's got everything you need. It's tropical weather and whatnot, right? So I did Phuket for 2 weeks. I did the full island. And that was the first time I immersed myself in speaking another language again, learning Thai, the numbers, this and that, and it was awesome. And so that got a good taste for me to head to China. I've said, like I said, when I went to China, Europe, and then yeah, when I left Europe, I said, no, if I don't come back to Europe, I don't come back and live here, because it's not a big place, but it's got full of history. So I said, look, let's do China first, right? Because we can get job there, this and that. All right, let's do China. So we did China. Moved to China in January 2018, and we left at the end of August 2019. We traveled to 32 cities, towns, and some rural villages. Definitely one of the most multi-mixed um, cultural cuisine, religiously, landscape, diverse places on earth. It's like a giant Europe. I mean, like I said, I spent 20 months in China, 32 different places, and I still hadn't seen it all. It's amazing, really, really amazing. I mean, if you put the whole political and whatever aside, in terms of the people and the culture, it's amazing. Yeah, changed my life. It's so different and so unique that I mean, you go to places and all they speak is Chinese, and all you see is Chinese. Like, you could get lost
Yeah.
in China so ridiculously because it's so big. I mean, we flew from where we were living in the city called Wuxi, which is in Jiangsu, which is the province north of Shanghai, just an hour away on speed train. We flew from there all the way to Xinjiang, which is on the border of Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and all that. Um, 6 hours away. I mean, that's ridiculous. You're still in the same country, 6 hour flight. So it like to do by train and all that, you need like months at a time. I
Yeah,
definitely would have definitely done more trips by train, like sleeping on the train and all that. But because of the distances, it's like you need like half a year just pure traveling without work or anything. Like it's a place you could backpack for a long time. And that's what actually one thing that frustrates me about the visa in terms of holiday visa to go and visit there is that they only offer most countries 1 month, and it's like out of all countries in the world, like that's probably the last place to do 1 month. You need like a minimum, and I'm like dead set like a minimum 3 months to get a good flavor of China. When I talk to most people, they've been to China. Oh, where you been? Oh, I've been to Beijing. It's like, well, where else have you been? That's it. Well, it's like that's nice, but you haven't seen China. Like I feel like when you go and travel in a country, you have to at least see north, south, east, and west. You got to get a bit of taste of everything. Um,
yeah,
at least five, six cities minimum to even get a feel of a place, let alone say you've traveled the country. Like for me, I it was a transit, 15-hour transit in Budapest, Hungary. Like for me, I can't really say I've been to Hungary. Like I feel like I'm cheating when I say that. Like it's, like I did the city and I went around. I can't remember all the names of everything, but the three bridges, and I saw everything, took photos of everything there. But it's cool. I got a good touch of it, but 15 hours, come on, that you can't say I've been to Hungary. I had obviously some couple of dishes, Hungarian dishes there, but that's I can't say I've been there. Well, that's my personal opinion anyway. On you know,
when you did leave initially, you said that your partner, your girlfriend, played a big part in that.
yes.
Did you struggle at first to leave?
Leave China, did you say, or leave Australia?
New Zealand, Australia, even just the fact that you're saying about your family at home, how important they are to you, that kind of thing. Did you struggle to leave them behind and kind of make your own way?
At that point, I said to myself, you can't wait for the perfect moment. You have to create it. So I just said, if it doesn't happen now, it's not going to happen. So I just did it, and I thought, yeah, that's it. Just get it done with, and I haven't looked back since. I mean, I miss home and I miss my family, but at the end of the day, this is my life now. It's just traveling and just seeing the world from another perspective. It's actually saying in Chinese, 学一门语言就是hang on, 学一门语言就是光一个 wait, give me 2 seconds, I'll find it real quick. Okay. Uh, yeah, 学一门语言就是一个观察世界的窗户. So that translates to, uh,
Oh yeah, I've heard that before.
yeah.
No, I'm not.
You got me. I was like, what? uh, it means to like study one language is like seeing through one window, and I could say the same thing about living in one country. One man who's 80 years old, who's lived in his home country for his whole life, versus one man that's been to 80 countries or whatever amount of countries. You see so many different windows, so many different ways. You know,
Yeah.
it's a whole nother life again, and for me, it's like a drug where you just gotta every country's another hit. Like, oh, this is good. Oh, I'm gonna come back to this place. Oh, hang on, I gotta try this. I gotta speak to this person. I gotta see this place. You just can never get enough. That's the best part. There's so much to see, and it just never ends.
Do you ever? So when you're talking about, when you go somewhere and you go, I need to come back. I need to come back. Do you ever get to the point where you get scared that you're not going to get to go back?
I mean, you never know when life ends, right? But I feel that some places I would go back first before others, but no, I definitely maybe some places they wouldn't be on my priority, but I know some places I'll be like, yeah, I know I'm gonna come back to this one. Like for me, my recent trip to Oman, that was like, wow, I've never seen a country in such a systematic, social, just everything in general, just such a sustainable place, and it just made me hungry for more. And Japan is like that too. Um, yeah, just certain places make me want to go back more than others because I don't know. I just personally had more of a connection with them in terms of what I like, and they're just like, I mean, now more than ever with this whole coronavirus, right? I mean, who knows when we're going to be able to travel next? But because
Yeah.
there's so many travel bans everywhere. I mean, it's like, and have you seen the prices of flights now? It's ridiculous. They're just taking the advantage of it now.
No, if they went right up.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Look at flights to go anywhere in Europe or anywhere by now, and because a lot of airlines, like for instance, within the Australasian zone, I think Virgin as well, but I know definitely Qantas and Jetstar have stopped all their flights, and so there's only one airline going between New Zealand and Australia. So you imagine, like, they could charge whatever they like right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so traveling now is just too hard, But I mean, who knows what could happen next? But yeah, it almost does scare me like now more than ever because it's like who knows what could happen next, and maybe the travel bans will be there for a few years even. Who knows? I mean, that's probably more now than ever. It's like but I don't regret anything because what I've done so far. If tomorrow the world says no, they won't be traveling for the next 10 years, I'll be like, man, you know what? I don't regret all the traveling I did in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So when you're traveling, you've done a bit of traveling by yourself, but also with your partner. What do you prefer? Do you prefer traveling with your partner, or do you prefer solo traveling, or is there bits you like to both? Or,
Um, we
and
done
I
a
know
lot of
you've got to
traveling.
be careful here how you answer that in case she listens to it.
Oh yeah, yeah. um, no, no, I just love how you put that. No, it's cool. I love traveling with her. I mean, she was in the same position. She was quite comfortable staying in one place, and as she is now, she's like, when it's possible, you better come back here. I'm not traveling for the next 2 years. Like I'm staying here. She's cool staying at home with her family in Sicily and all that. But I I'm quite different. Because I got such a big kick out of this in the last 3 years. It's like I just can't get enough. I want to keep going, and traveling with her is great. But at the same time, like for instance, when I went to Japan from China, she decided to go to Italy. She missed her family. Like I love my family a lot, but she's very, very family oriented, very Sicilian in that way. And
Hmm.
I decided to go to Japan by myself because there was a friend that I've stayed in contact with for the last now 11 or 12 years. He did a language exchange here in New Zealand when I was 14, and we decided to stay in contact ever since. And so he was half the reason why I went to Japan to go and see him, and it felt like it was yesterday when I met him after the first time in 10 years. So that was good. And then Mexico as well. When I went to Mexico, she didn't come either. She went back to Australia to see her mum and dad, who were living in Australia at the time with her sister. Um, it's different, because those trips were more dedicated to see people that I had met. And also, my trip to Oman was to see my friend as well that I met in Australia for the language exchange. It's just different, but I do love sharing the experience. I mean, doing your solo travel is awesome. It's cool because you can just be what you want, and when you feel like something, you just go and do it. You don't have to worry about anything or anyone. You just go and do it. You can get up at what time you like. You don't have to wait for anyone. You're on your own terms. But when you
Yeah.
do go to these places and you find yourself in this amazing mountaintop, or you found this amazing restaurant, or you're talking to these amazing people, you're like, oh, I wish I could share this with someone right now. Like I wish someone else was here to experience this. Because when you explain something to someone, but it's not the same when you were there. That's in that moment in
Yeah.
time. Yeah, yeah. Um, but I do love traveling on my own. It's been fun because I'm quite quick when I travel. Like I do a lot of things. I'll start from who knows early as possible from 5 in the morning, and I won't come back till 10 at night. Like I'm on my feet all day, every day. Just like whereas my girlfriend likes to take it slow. Her type of a holiday is sitting on the beach, you know, drinking some fresh
Yeah.
made juices, tanning on the beach, going for a swim, coming back and sitting on the beach again. Because that's where she's
So what
from.
other What other passions have you got, outside the travelling?
Language is my life. Language is everything for me at this point. Language. I love driving. Actually, I grew up with cars a lot of my life, so I don't know like I know not a fair amount, but just the basics, like about cars and whatnot. But driving in general, like I've driven jet skis, boats, cars, scooters, motorbikes. Um, Not an airplane yet. Definitely want to drive an airplane. Since I was a kid, I actually always wanted to drive a tank. And guess what? Would not believe it, but in Ukraine you can actually hire out tanks for starting from like $30 USD an hour to about $150 an hour, and you can actually shoot the cannons as well.
So we have we've got things that we call red letter days.
Right.
So like my wife, for example, she got me a flying lesson for my Christmas. So I've
Oh
got that to
wow.
do this year.
Wow.
But like you can do things like, yeah, like you say, tanks, or you can go like clay pigeon shooting, that kind of thing, hot air ballooning.
Yeah.
Um, there's all the different things. So do you not have things like that in New Zealand? Do you not have that kind of experience day kind of thing? Or
Oh, definitely. We just not tanks though, not army tanks. Like that's a bit extreme. That's only left for the military. But planes, yes, definitely. But I don't know. I just never thought about it until right at this moment, actually. Now that you've said it, and then I was thinking about everything that I've driven. But yeah, definitely a plane. I mean, I've done skydiving. That was amazing. But I didn't actually drive the plane, obviously. But um, be a bit worried if it was that. Uh, um, yeah. Plane is
so
pretty
when
cool.
when you're
Honestly. Like, yeah.
so when you're talking about skydiving there, right? I know personally, if that was me, I'd have shit myself, right? So
Yeah,
that
it's
kind of leads me on nicely to one of my next subjects. So, like, your most breathtaking moment. So, what throughout your traveling, at this time, what is the moment where you stood there and you've went, "Wow, this is why I'm doing this."
Uh, Ooh, that's a really good question. Um, I mean, there's a few of them. Skydiving is actually one of them. Definitely, yes, yes, definitely on that topic. I mean, when I skydive, if anyone that's listening has done it, they know the feeling. It's crazy. I mean, I was on I was the last one on the back of the plane, and I'm just hearing everyone go, "Whoa, wow, oh my god!" They're just like, they're just falling out of the plane. I'm just like, my god, why did I choose to go last? And so I'm on the edge, right? And because if you haven't got a license, you always teamed up with someone. And so I'm just
Yeah.
trapped up with him, and he goes, right, hang your legs out. I'm hanging my legs out, and they're drifting, and I'm like looking at the ground. And he's like, don't look down. I'm like, it was a bit hard not to. And it's ridiculous. You're just like, you feel like it's a dream, like, 'cause it's so high up. I mean, you talk about 20,000 feet in the air. It's your
Yeah.
head just doesn't comprehend because it's not natural to be in such a it's like humanly impossible without a plane, right? To obviously be up at that height. So I don't know what the body's thinking, and neither am I. It's like we're just like, what's going on? Like I'm talking to myself, like what is happening? He's like 3, 2, and it just fell out, and that's it. I was just like, whoa, and it's just like the dream where you feel like you're falling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that for the first 10 seconds. And then for me anyway, because I just couldn't comprehend, I was just like, oh my gosh, and then it's just like, whoa, I don't know how to explain it. It's so free. You're just like, wow. And at that point, that was definitely one of the high points in my life. I was like, this is something I got to continue and just, you know, the adrenaline. I just feed off adrenaline. Anything that just gets the heart going. That was one of the moments, definitely skydiving. I'd love to do that again. And actually, when I went to Japan and I found shrines. So I've been to temples, mosques I love, churches, all places of prayer, Buddhist temples and
Yeah.
whatnot. But a shrine was completely different. I never really studied anything or heard about shrines before. And so when I turned up to this shrine pretty sure it was in Kanazawa. Yes, in Kanazawa, which is on the sort of central west coast of Japan. And when I got there, it's just empty, nothing, nothing there. And it reminded me so much of a marae, which is a place of gathering or a place of prayer or just meditation or just an empty space for you to fill it up in a way. And it just felt, even though so empty it felt so full. And I'm like, wow, like it was just literally a building. Like imagine like a open shed and just no doors or anything. It's just open. And it's just like it's so weird. Yet it's just the strangest feeling. And at that point as well, I was like, wow, you could feel, people uh, want and get so much in their life, and yet this place was so empty, but it felt so full. I don't know how to explain it. It's just so amazing. Whereas, you go to churches and stuff, right, which is amazing and all that. Like the Vatican is amazing, outstanding. It's so full of things, like so many details, architecture, pictures, paintings, artifacts, you know what I mean? Seats, the flooring. Whereas a shrine is just it literally has a roof, the poles, they hold the roof and the floor, and that's it. There's nothing there. And it was just like, I don't know how to explain it. It was just so unreal for me.
Going from that, most breathtaking moment, or a couple of breathtaking moments there, you must have one moment where you've been, something's happened to you, and you've like, why am I doing this for a different reason? You must have got at one point you must have felt uncomfortable, scared.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, another moment like that actually was in Xinjiang, where I traveled to the far northwest of China, and we were just leaving the city of Kashgar, or in Chinese Kashur, and it's the closest point next to uh, Tajikistan and quite close to Pakistan. And so these people actually are not Chinese; they're Uyghur people. I don't know if you ever heard of them on the news and all that. It's quite a long political story with them, how they're put in these camps and whatnot. And so that I already knew what was going on. So I sort of had an idea of what was happening there, the ethnic cleansing that's happening and all that. And so as we're leaving the city and talking to the driver, because all the tax, like everywhere you go, there was cameras. That was crazy. Like I'll never forget it. It was military everywhere. They had facial recognition technology to get inside your house. Um, I also learned the basics to get basics in their language to get a trust bridge for information. Even though it was very difficult to get anything out of them. But Uyghurs are one of the most beautiful and friendly people I've ever come across in my entire traveling um, journeys. I made some great friends and contacts. If I ever go back there, uh, they're going through only what history has repeated through most of the world, um, that people can deal with. And we were followed, stalked, and stopped at every security point possible, plus plenty more. Um, so, for instance, oh, sorry, with the taxi driver, I asked him, oh, does the camera have voice, like audio microphone? He goes, yeah, it does. I said, can you read and write Chinese? He goes, yeah. So I wrote him in Chinese. Uh, is it true what the media is saying about your people and what's going on? And he looked at me with a face of like pure honesty, like when a baby looks at you, like it's so innocent, almost.
Yeah.
And that was the face he pulled, and I'm like, he's about to say something unbelievable. And he just said in Chinese that my family has gone on the longest vacation possible. All my friends that I know of, my relatives, my grandparents, all I have left is my daughter. Everyone else is gone. I will never see them again, most likely. And he just started crying. I could see his tears, and I just started crying too. And I'm like, like I wish I could do so much more, and I wish I could help. And this is why I travel to understand the real story, because like there's so many places on earth that the media is, oh, it's dangerous, and the terrorism and the drugs and the pirates and some other crap they talk about, and you go there and you're like, I didn't see nothing of this. I didn't see anything. But in reality, they were really going through what the media was hyping out to be. And I mean, you couldn't see any of the camps or anything because if they all further out in the country, and to even get that far, they do have a lot of security checks. For instance, when I was traveling from one town called Fan, or in Uyghur languages, Turpan, just 1 hour outside of the main capital of Urumqi, we caught the train there, and then as we exited the train station, straight away police followed us, come with us, and we spent 40 minutes at the station questioning us why we're here, what are we doing, and I'm telling you, if it wasn't from the communication, be able to speak in Chinese, it just would have been a lot more difficult to get around. He's looking at me like, yeah, I have to do this. I don't want to do it, but unfortunately, I got to do it here on the
Oh,
police
you're
station.
quite away there again, Louis. Sorry.
Sorry, like at one point, traveling through this town, when we went through one security point in the taxi, even he was looking at me like, oh yeah, what's your name? Okay, where you from? Like, he's asking me, but he's like tired of it. He's looking at me like, yeah, I'm sick of this too. Like, trust me, I don't want to do this, but I have to, you know?
Yeah.
We were traveling like from the town, Hurpen to, I've forgotten the name already, outside this place. Uh, Anyway, it was a distance about 80 kilometers, and we had to go through 4 pit stops before we even arrived at the next town. And this is within 80 kilometers. Can you believe that? It was unbelievable. Um, I'm just looking on the map now. What was the name of this town? It was such a beautiful place, and it reminded me of like Tatooine, like the little planet on Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the landscape and everything was just unreal. Like they have caves there that have gone back 2,000 years, like the first age of Buddha traveling through China from India. Quite interesting, because we did that because of the whole Silk Road.
Uh huh.
Yeah, doing Urumqi, Turpan, Kashgar. Yeah, that whole trip just blew my mind, and I was like, I have to like keep going through Central East Asia. Like I always wanted to go. There was query, questioning about it, but this really got my mind going. Like this is something like far beyond traveling. Like it feels like you've just left another planet. It's just unbelievable. Especially that old man, and that when I saw his face and he told me that, it was like my life changed really a lot after that travel. So after that journey.
So, going from scary times kind of thing. Have you ever been scammed at all when you're traveling?
Um, I mean, apart from the old people that probably just charge me a couple of dollars more or whatever, but I've actually been lucky at this point so far. I haven't been scammed. No, I've had some crazy stories of other
Touch
people
wood.
getting scammed and stuff, but I don't know if it's just pure luck, which I think it is. But I really like most of my travels, I've gone to meet people that I already know, so they've taken me around and whatnot.
Hmm.
I think that's why, because I haven't been, well, apart from China, I mean, they do scam you. I mean, actually, I can tell you some scams that happened to some of my friends in China, for anyone that's listening out there, to be careful of is in Shanghai in the main strip, shops, the main pedestrian walking street. There'll be like a young Chinese girl there, right? And she's quite good looking.
I missed the location there. Sorry, you dropped out there, Louis.
Oh, sorry, the pedestrian walking street in China. Sorry, in Shanghai, the main pedestrian walking street. I'm horrible with names, as you can tell so far. Usually there'll be like a young girl there. She'll just be walking around trying to talk to any foreigners. Like, hey, how you going? What's your name? Like, trying to hit you up. And you're like, oh yeah, all right, yeah, like most young guys, oh yeah, not bad. And eventually she'll get to the point going, oh, do you want to have some tea with me? Let's go and I know a really good shop. So they'll take you to a tea shop, and uh, you sit there, you're having good old chin wag, and you're having your tea, and then you go and stand up to go and leave, and you get billed for about, I've heard from $200 to $600 just for a cup of tea, and because they know the girl is obviously in the scam, like she knows it's like
Yeah.
small mafias almost, and they can do that. China, I mean, it's the biggest love-hate relationship. There's so many things I love, and there's so many things you just gotta hate about it. And this is one of them. Like, as a foreigner, you just have not many rights, to be honest. I'm just gonna be straight out. It's very hard to live there if you don't speak the language. And if you travel and you get into a situation like this, it can be very, very nasty. They can do many things to you, and they can get away with it. And because you're the foreigner, you're always wrong. Um, and this is one of them, the tea shop scam, they call it. For instance, when you drive there, again, I've been lucky. Like, I had a few crashes, but I ended up working it out with the people. Whereas a friend of
Uh-huh.
mine, he crashed his. So all, like, 90% of the scooters there are all electric. They're all just acid batteries. And so he's driving around. He's hit someone on his bike with another bike, and his Chinese is really good. So he thought, oh yeah, I could speak it. I could talk it out, whatnot. No way, man. The police come, and he's like, you better pay 10,000 on the spot, or else you're gonna go to jail. And they just, like, it's if you deal with the wrong people at the wrong time there, they can really do some bad things to you. I don't want to put, people off of China, but it's just like, if it just happens. I mean, it could happen anywhere and any time, right? Anywhere in the world. I mean, I've been hijacked there in New Zealand. Had a knife to my throat, gunpoint as well, in New Zealand, out of all places, right? Um, but in China, he had to pay 10,000 RMB. Sorry, at that time was about $2,000 Australian, which is maybe at that point $1,600 American, which is about three to 4 months of salary for one Chinese, which is a lot of money. So yeah, I mean, if you driving there is quite hideous, and it's not fun. I'll tell you that. They have some crazy driving rules. I mean, for instance, if you get hit, but if they kill you, they can just pay it off. They can just pay a fine, basically, and they can just pay the family off. Whereas if you hit them, they can, like, lie to the doctor and get, like, a fake medical bill, and they have to pay for the rest of your life. So it's actually better
Oh
to run
wow.
someone over rather than actually help someone up when you've run them over, or you just drive off. Yeah, which is technically illegal, but it's, like, not. You know, it's kind of one of
Yeah.
those places, like, if you get caught, you get caught, but if you don't, well, if you can get away with it, just do it. And that's what people do there, and it's quite sad. And that's a reason why the whole 2020 social credit system came up. I don't know if you ever heard about it. They started this year, the social
No.
credit system. So have you ever watched Black Mirror or heard about that series
Uh,
on Netflix?
one episode, yeah.
Yeah, and one of them is a rating, and they rate people on their phones. Like, they give you, I'll give you 4 stars today, or I'll give you 5 or whatever because you're friendly, or you need a certain amount of stars to get on this plane, or else you're not going to get on this plane. And so it's actually based on the Chinese social credit system and what's happening there right now. Everyone has a number, and with that number, wherever they go, it tracks even what they pay, how much they're spending, where they live, your whole, like, your whole life, basically, where you went to school. And so everything as your life as a whole is a number. And so if you don't have the certain requirements of the number, say, I think it's out of 1,000 or something, and you only have 400, you need to get 600, well, then you have to do, like, voluntary work, or you have to do something for your certain area or the city or something. You got to do some, it's crazy. Like, for that reason, because there's just so many things that are out of control in China. I mean, you imagine trying to control 1.4 billion people. It's
Yeah.
out of anyone's hand. And I think India is quite on the similar is in a similar way like that. It's quite interesting. But yeah, in terms of scams, yeah, that's in China. That's far as I know. I mean, there's certain ones I rather not say. They get pretty deep. But I mean, if you're looking for trouble, you'll get it in China too. If you try and, I mean, as you know, most of Southeast Asia, anything got to do with drugs, it's just a big no. So you just know, if you deal with drugs and you're gonna do it there, you're gonna get dealt with pretty hard. So it's best not to
Yeah.
just do it in general. You just don't do it. I mean, at the end of the day, you're in someone else's country. And I find that a lot of people forget that when they travel sometimes. So they just, oh yeah, I can do what I want. I'm not in my country. Well, that's exactly it, mate. You're not in your country. You gotta just think twice before you do something, you know.
So how many countries have you travelled to in total?
In total, including when I was younger, is 23 so far.
Okay. And I take it, from your Instagram there, that your aim is every country.
Yeah, that's it exactly. Yeah. From China, when I had that moment with the taxi driver, I knew at that point I was like, I want to see the rest of the world and do what I can to help. Eventually, use my language skills to help out, and I want to get to every single country in the world. Yeah, that's the goal. It's just every country is like another window added to my house. I feel it's this one's blue, this one's purple, this one's green. This one's wider, this one's longer, this one's shorter. It's just beautiful, just seeing so many different people and cultures and foods, and oh, I just can't get enough. But eventually, definitely every country in the world for sure.
So where's next?
Ooh, I will love to head back to
So
see my girlfriend in Italy because she's stuck there right now in quarantine. So I'll definitely go there first, go and see her. But my plan is actually to live in Oman because, yeah, my most recent travel through Oman was it just amazed me. I will go back and live there for sure. And by living there, I can travel the region like I did in China. When I was in China, I traveled to Japan, I did Korea, Philippines, Vietnam. So obviously, I didn't get to see the rest, but with Oman, I can go to India. It's close to Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Ethiopia, Somalia, Yemen. I mean, there's probably certain countries or certain parts of the country I wouldn't go to because there's just um, it's not what the media is hyped up to be, but they're just even people, locals yourself themselves will tell you, hey, maybe this part's not so good. Just try and avoid that
yeah,
place. I mean, it's not rocket science. Some places you just wouldn't want to go sightseeing in. I mean, you could probably say the same thing about your certain parts of Scotland, maybe in Edinburgh or in Glasgow. There's certain parts of the city you probably wouldn't want to walk around in after hours, after the sun sets.
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely the Middle East again. Middle East is a place I've been dying to go to. I felt like it's a weird sensation, but well, not every time, but I've only been to Egypt, Cairo, and Oman, and the UAE, Dubai. But I feel very connected. I feel it's like my past life. I was Arabic or something. It's really strange. Like it feels like home to me. It's very strange.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you think you'll ever stop travelling?
definitely not. No, no. I mean, it's just a pit stop at the moment. It's just a break. Put on the break right now because of this whole coronavirus, but COVID-19. But definitely not. No, I think even once I definitely would like to have a family one day, and even then I would travel with them. Yeah, that I would make sure that I can share the same experience with them. Definitely, but I'll never stop
You
traveling
need
now.
to listen to you need to listen to an upcoming episode then, because I've got two couples coming on that travel with their kids.
Oh
Not
wow,
sort of a date or anything yet, but that one really interests me. I've got a little girl myself,
yeah,
um, so I'm quite keen to hear how they find it. Traveling with two wee ones. Because
yeah,
it makes a difference. Even location, that kind of thing. So when I think of the last guest I spoke to, Craig, um, he's actually from the same town as me, but he's living in Vietnam.
all right,
And he was saying, that all these locations, that there's family things and that to do, like in Vietnam, he's in Hanoi, and I was saying to him, I would never think of going there with my daughter, but he's saying, no, there's loads of things for her to do. She'd love it, that kind of thing, but it's just a stigma. You never think of these kind of places as a holiday destination with young children. You know what I mean?
yeah, for sure. Funny you say that because I actually I was only there for 5 days, but most of my time was spent in Hanoi. And funny enough, I did see a lot of families there, which weirded me out. I was like, I would not have thought, this is a place that young families would bring their kids. Like I mean, there's obviously people that they're looking there maybe late 20s, early 30s, and they're bringing their kids along, and it's like, what? Like, it's like one of the last places I would have thought that people would bring the kids, but it really is a place. And being there myself, I can tell you for sure, there's so much to do there, and it's yeah, Southeast Asia is definitely a hotspot for family destinations because it's just the affordability and its openness to that. And I think it's just slowly, because of its tourism sector hugely growing in the last decade, it's just adapted to that now, and it's realized it can get more bang for its buck if it opens up to family, and it has that environment. And a lot of these places do offer the young, youngsters wanting to get, wasted, whatever, have their party life. And there's also the, I mean, that's also cool and fun, but there's also the family side of things. Like there can be a bit of both, and I mean, I've only done Phuket, Thailand, the whole island, Philippines, and Vietnam in terms of Southeast Asia, but they all have that feel like you could definitely go with a family. Yeah, for sure. It's
So, speaking of family, the next part is a question from my little girl. All right.
cool.
So I was speaking to her last night because she's not up out of her bed yet.
Oh,
Um, so she was asking me to ask you, what's your favourite animal?
oh wow, that's cool. Eagle. I love eagles.
Eagle.
Yeah, that's actually my this desktop desktop background. I always change it once a month to a different picture of an eagle. I just have this awesome connection with them. I just love them. I feel like when I travel, I'm an eagle, and especially when I'm solo, I feel like I can fly anywhere and do anything I want because I'm just on my own terms.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
So I'll pass that on.
cool, cool.
Um,
Yeah, definitely an eagle.
right. So the next part is my favourite part. All right. This is what I call story time.
Oh, nice.
So I want you to take me and the listeners, all right, to one place that you believe that everyone should travel to. So I want you to tell us about, how you got there, what you did when you got there, if you take a taxi or a bus from the airport kind of thing. I want you to go into detail and tell us about this one place and why we should go there.
Hmm. Sicily. Sicily, definitely Sicily. Sicily. Have you been there before? Have you been to Italy?
No.
Beautiful place. Very diverse. It's reminds you of like Japan, but European style. I mean, it's a completely different, but in terms of like you could drive every 20 minutes and you find yourself in another little town or something. Sicily in particular is awesome. I love it. Sorry, you just explain to me again. Like you mean like how it's like a certain place in Sicily, or just like you mean that one place in
Anything.
particular? Anything? All right.
Anything. So you kind of take us on a journey. What do you want to tell us about Sicily? Why do we need to visit there? What's a
Cool.
special moment to you that's happened in Sicily?
Cool. So Sicily, in terms of geography or where it is, it's the most southern. I think it is the most southern point. Anyway, of Europe. It is the biggest island of Europe and has the biggest volcano in Europe, active still, Mount Etna. And it is right next to Tunisia. It's only a ferry ride, 1.5 hour ferry ride from Tunis, the capital of Tunisia, from the city of Marsala on the west coast of Sicily. When you get to the airport, it's like a little town. It's just like a village. Like they recently just done up the airport. It's quite nice, but when you exit the airport, it's like you're in the south of Europe. It's very not run down, but it's developing in a sense. It's not a developed Europe that most people think of when it comes to Europe. But the terms of price, it is very cheap compared to the most of Europe, and that's a big plus. Not many people speak English, but when you do come across people, they're quite friendly. And so, I mean, taxis and all that. They can probably scam you there, like most taxis in the world. Um, Definitely recommend getting buses. Or there is, I think, no train station, but there are buses to the main city, and from the main city you can get trains in and around the whole island, which is quite cool. So that makes it quite accessible and easy for traveling. Um, and Sicily in general, again, has Mount Etna, right? So during the winter, you can go skiing and all that. I mean, it's got beaches, skiing, to forest, to a bit like almost dry desert landscape with mountains. So it has all four seasons in the one day, you could say, if you like. And in particular, where my girlfriend is, she lives in a place called Giardini Naxos, and Giardini is right next to Taormina. And Taormina is a beautiful place. It's actually one of the most visited places. I think it is the most visited place in all of Sicily. A lot of cruise ships actually port there, and they get the small little dinghies and they drive there um, to Taormina, and it just the view is just breathtaking. I mean, you can see the mountain is actually very close to there, and so it's like the Mount Fuji of Europe. It's unbelievable. Like you when you see it, just like wow, it just gobsmacks you. And the food there, I mean, all of Italy. If people ask you where is the best food, and they will tell you Sicily. Sicily, just a lot of dishes have come from here, and it's a mix between Arab and Southern Italian and Greek history. So you can see it through the people as well. They're quite dark skinned. You see a lot of almost Arabic descent people. Um, just the southern European people are just, I don't know, they're very friendly. Um, all the places I've been to in all of Sicily is just breathtaking. Every small village has its own story. Churches, and for some reason it's not very well visited. So I find it you can take it at your own pace. You don't have to feel rushed to be in lines or anything. And it's a lot more affordable compared to most of Europe that I know of in terms of going out for buying food and your daily expenditure. And you can hire a car as well to drive around. You can again take trains. You can take boats, buses. All modes of transport are available. So it's a place for anyone. Again, for families as well. Family, you can take your family there. Yeah, it's open and made for any type of traveler, I believe. And so I believe it's a place that people should definitely put in their bucket list to visit one day. It just has everything that you could ever want.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah,
So, the next part is kind of like a quick fire question kind of
yeah.
round.
Cool,
Um, so I just want the first answer that comes to your head,
cool.
and then if you hum and haw too much, I'll shout at you, and then your answer will not count. Um,
All right. Nah.
right. So, Louis, your
Yes.
hometown.
Auckland.
When you're traveling, what is your travel essentials?
Mobile phone.
Okay.
Money. And food.
So, food. What's your favourite food?
Oh, definitely Mexican,
Okay.
Sicilian style cooking, and Lanzhou, which is a city in China style food as well.
Okay. Your favourite country you visited?
Oman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, what do you find is the best way to relax when you're traveling?
Take a deep breath and realize where you are.
Okay. Um, Your favourite song or artist?
Yeah, no. I've got too many genres and songs. Yeah.
Right, come on, give me one. Favourite artist then.
The 4 L's. The 4 L's, like in the birds. Woo, woo, the 4 L's.
Okay. Your favourite drink.
Green tea.
Favourite movie.
Movie. No,
No,
not
take it too
sure.
long.
Yeah.
Favourite TV show.
Favorite TV show? At one point, it was actually The
What was that?
Sopranos. Sopranos.
Sorry, you dropped out there.
Sopranos.
Oh, Sopranos.
Yeah.
Love Sopranos.
Yeah.
Love it. It's funny because every time you said Sicily, that's all it comes into my head is Sopranos. And the next one is normally, can you speak any other languages? But we know, as we know from your name, Lingo Lewi, you can definitely speak some other languages.
Yes. Language is my life. English is obviously number one. Spanish it just comes to my head quite naturally. Italian is almost there as well, and Chinese I would say is after that. After that, I would say is Urdu, Hindi, which they're quite almost the same language. They're about 90% the same. And Tagalog Filipino, which is the main language of the Philippines, because
Okay.
they have a lot of words in Spanish. And then I would say after that would be Arabic. And then
So give me a
all
couple of examples of that.
sorry?
So come on, like, I'll give you 30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And you've got 30 seconds to go through as many languages as you can, but speaking their languages.
Okay, cool. I'll greet you in all of
Right?
them I can. So hello, kia ora, hola, ciao, hola, salut, guten Tag, ni hao, lei hao, no hao, apa, salam alaikum, marhaban, salam durud, yakshi musis, halisan, bulavanaka, malolele, talafalava.
That's you. 30 seconds.
Yeah,
I
that's
wish
it.
I'd counted how many
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
halfway through and I was thinking, I probably shouldn't have counted them.
Yeah.
Right, so the next part, I've got a couple of. So as you seen on Instagram, I put up a wee story saying last night that we were going to go live today.
Oh, yes.
I've asked some people for some questions for you.
Yes.
So the first one I've got is from Private Key. All right. So
Cool.
they're asking, would you rather be stuck at the age of 18 or stuck at the age of 50?
Oh, good choice. Good choice. Like at the age of 50,
So why 50?
because at least I have more knowledge and more experience to be stuck at rather than 18. I felt like I didn't learn nothing when I was 18, rather when the amount I know now and then what I'm going to learn in another lifetime, that because I'm almost 27, which is almost double my age, I can do so much more and have fun with.
Okay. The next one is from Nicole Fishert. I hope I've got that right. So, what's the most interesting thing you've seen out of your kitchen window?
Oh, that's a nice one. I have seen. Uh, trying to think like of a hostel or something if I've seen anything random. Yes, actually in Vietnam I was in a hostel and I was in the kitchen there, the church. What is the name of that church? It's in Hanoi Center. Everyone would know it. It's the biggest church there, made by the French. That's probably one of the most amazing things I've seen out of a kitchen window.
Okay. I've got one here from Cheryl Fishel XO. What's your favourite dessert?
favorite dessert, cassada. Cassada is a Sicilian dessert. It's primarily made out of ricotta cheese, but with plenty of sugar, like a nice sugar icing on it, and it's just unbelievable. It's a must try for everyone that visits Sicily.
Okay. Just going through to see what else we have. So I've got one there for the next trip, but we've already spoke about that. All right, okay. Here's one for you because you seem you spoke about religious moments, that kind of thing. So do you think that the meaning of life is the same for animals as it is for humans?
Mm,
And that one comes from a private key again.
interesting. What I believe, no. I think at the end of the day, I think it almost is the same. It's the key to survival. But I feel that we have more uh, thought when we do things before we can think before we do them. I mean, I hope most people do think before they do something. um, uh, whereas animals are quite they snap, like they can just snap on you in seconds. I mean, if you were to just hit a lion from behind, he's not going to smile at you and wave. Whereas if you do that to your mate, he's just going to laugh about it. You know what I mean? So in a
Yeah.
certain way, yes, and also in a certain way, no, because animals are just survival of the fittest. I guess in a way we also are, but we have a lot more to live for than just looking for our next meal.
Okay. Okay. And I've got the last one here. So it's DXR Mant. Your favourite artist of 2020?
Um, Still definitely the 4 hours. I love them. They speak the truth, and I love it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect. So that's really everything I've got to go through with you today, mate.
awesome, cool.
I would
What?
love to get you back on again in the future.
Definitely, yes,
When you're
yes,
travelling
yeah,
about. So again, I just want to thank you for coming on today. I know we spoke over the last couple of days about making this happen.
yeah.
It's been a bit easier with the lockdown, mind you.
Mhm.
But
Definitely.
no, again, it still takes time from you, and it's much appreciated. So why don't you tell everyone where they can find you, and your social media outlets, that kind of thing, so they can follow you and watch you as you're traveling.
Cool. Yeah. Instagram is probably my biggest one at the moment. You can see, well, at this time is the most recent travels I had. I'm eventually going to start a YouTube channel. I was meant to start it earlier, but my friend left to China because of the virus. He lives in Yankee, the one I mentioned before previously. He does a lot of YouTube videos and all that. So I've actually
Okay.
opened up a channel there. You can subscribe there. They'll be up and running hopefully because I've done a lot of recordings in Australia, speaking all the languages possible. And yeah, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all the same name, Lingo Lewi. And thank you so much, James, for having me on. It's a complete honor,
No, no, it's a
and
pleasure.
definitely, yeah, we'll love to do another one in the future when I've done most of the world by then.
Perfect.
Yeah,
So yeah, I want to get everyone to go over, follow Louis on his journey as he, goes throughout the world. Also, don't forget to, listen to or subscribe to the podcast. Head over to my Instagram and check it out. And Louis, if you've got any pictures as you go, feel free to tag us, at the Static Traveller, as you go, and I'll let people see it.
definitely,
If
yeah,
anybody wants to feature on the Static Traveller, just get in touch, send me a private message on the Static Traveller's Facebook page or Instagram account. But Louis, again, thank you very much for joining me today.
yes,
And until the next time, you keep travelling and I'll stay static.